Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bar Shem, Yahweh Shai, Bar Shem, Ha Rakah Kadash. Double honors unto your apostles and elders of great millstone who rule well, and shalom to the hopeful elect. This is another prophecy and news from an article dealing with the upcoming Brexit. Right, it says no deal Brexit still threatening vital medicine supplies despite contingency planning. All right, so let's get into it. All right. The threat to the supply of vital medicines still remains in the event of a no-deal Brexit, according to the National Audit Office (NOA). All right, they ain't talking about no paracetamol, ibuprofen. These are vital medicines that have a big hold a lot of weight within the society, the operation of society with in terms of medication. It said that with just 5 weeks to go to the 31st of October, when the UK is due to leave the EU, ministers still have a significant amount of work to do to ensure supplies. But you got Boris Johnson shutting down the government, all right, the parliament and these things there, which shows you, that this whole debacle, as they say, or this whole confusion. Basically, the reason why it's happening is because it's being engineered for certain things to play out. Order ab chaos, one of the main things the elites operate under. Order ab chaos, a Latin saying meaning order out of chaos, right? And when there's chaos, there's a need for order, right? All right, and that's what they want to do. They're creating a chaos, so there's a need for order, so they can renege this whole society according to their new world order. All right. So it reads on the Department of Health and Social Care (DHSC) lacking full information about levels. Sorry, let me read that again. Ministers still have a significant amount of work to do to ensure supplies, with the Department of Health and Social Care lacking full information about levels of stockpiling. So they're not even liaisoning or communicating with each other, speaking to each other about the levels of stock that they have. So we're talking about on that level, they may have some they ain't got the good stockpiled, but yet even worse so, or better yet, they don't even know what they need, all right, because they're not communicating with each other, right? Reading on, of the 12,300 medicines currently licensed for use in the UK, around 7,000 come to Britain, either from or through the EU. So we're talking about 5,300 medicines that are used within the UK are in supply in the UK, and there's no detail as to what those medicines are. But we're talking about the majority being 7,000 of these forms of medication come from the EU or go through the EU, right? With the vast majority being shipped across the channel, and on top of that, it's being shipped via the channel for the vast majority of that 7,000. So we're talking about these medication supplies are going through the EU or coming from the EU, and most of them that are coming or going through the EU are coming across the channel, the sea, all right? So trade diverted from Dover ahead of Brexit. So let's watch this real quickly. Lord willing it plays, man.
You're probably familiar with these kinds of pictures. Tailbacks at Dover, motorways gridlocked.
Lord willing it plays. If not, you can check out the article yourself and check it out. All right, but anyway, it showed you there. The little snippet you saw was that once the product or these items hit Dover, which is a port city, for items coming over the English Channel from the coast of mainland Europe, that there's a big queue of lorries, all right, being for the process to get from one side, from the coast of the UK onto the basically the shores and onto the mainland Britain, all right. It shows you that I did a video a while ago, a few months ago, where they basically did a drill and to see how the process would be, and it basically was cause a whole heap of traffic, because it's not, the motorway isn't designed to handle the kind of traffic or the movement that would need to take place, and the processing that would need to take place from getting these items very rapidly from the port city of Dover onto the mainland, the towns and cities of Britain. All right. So that would cause a big problem. According to the government's reasonable worst case scenario, the flow of goods would be cut by 40%. So this is a reasonable worst case scenario. Not we're not talking about the ultimate form of crazy. All right. From cut by 40% to 60%. So from 100%, you lose 40% worth of the flow of goods, which would definitely, cause some hoarding. So let's say that of that 60%, it may not feel, even though it's 60%, it won't feel like it's 60%, because people will look at it and say, well, I don't know how long this item's going to be around for, so let me hike the price and hoard at the same time. Let me sit on a bit of it and hike the price up until the flow increases and gets back to normal. Right, on day one of the no-deal break, taking a year to recover to something close to current levels. So they're talking about a year worth of recovery is needed to get back to the flow that we presently have. All right, and in that year, it's no telling what things could happen that could snowball this situation not to take a year, or maybe to even take less than a year. Or maybe there's not even a year, because it could be the beginning of something totally different, all right? The NOA said the department has done a great deal of work to prepare for a no-deal Brexit, a no-deal exit. However, there remains a significant amount to do before October 31st. In the event of a no-deal exit, the department would be working in a highly uncertain environment, and operating all elements of its plan would be a hugely demanding task. It added that the additional freight capacity chartered by the government for shipping priority goods across the channel. Slucky, my mind strayed for a moment, bear with me. It added that the additional freight capacity chartered by the government for shipping priority goods across the channel may not be fully available until the end of November. So even when we're talking about additional space that would be opened up for the transport of these goods over the channel, won't be even fully available until a month later. All right, it says a month after the UK is supposed to have left, while the DHSC has said it needs the equivalent of 2,326 additional HGV spaces a week. HGV basically talking about lorries. All right. I don't know what that, you can look it up. But anyway, spaces a week. The NAO said the time was extremely limited if the shipping was all to be ready for Brexit Day. So we're saying within 5 weeks to have this all ready to go is limited, and there's going to be huge delays. We're talking from a month to a year, potentially a year. All right, and even then some, because remember, these are reasonable levels. All right, this isn't the worst case scenario. Right. The DHSC, and we've seen, let's not forget, the same Sky News I'm reading from, they spoke about having the contingency plan that they have in place, and Operation Yellowhammer for the exit, to deal with Brexit. And they said within a month basically you'd have rioting and all these things. So they're saying that the fallout that could happen from this exit from the EU potentially is gonna change the way society flows, and it's gonna potentially bring around um, a state of fucking excuse me, a state. I'm trying to think of the words. The state of what's this word, man? It's so on the tip of my tongue, man. The state of what do you call it? Martial law. All right. DHSC, meanwhile, is setting up its own courier service for transporting particularly urgent goods, and is renting warehouse space for manufacturers to stockpile medicines and materials for the clinical suppliers. A further concern for the NOA was a lack of information about how many nursing homes and other social care providers had followed DHSC advice on robust contingency planning for a no-deal exit. The head of the NAO, Gareth Davies, said the civil service had faced an unprecedented challenge in preparing for Brexit in the midst of great uncertainty. In this report, I record the progress made by the DHSC working with others to secure continuity of supply for both the health and social care sectors should the UK depart without a deal with the EU or October 31st, he said. So I've been touching mainly on the business side and the government side of things. Let's not forget about these people unable to get their medication. So we got people out here in general population that have to get medicated, all right? They have to be sedated, all right, because they got mental issues. Then you have people that have forms of diseases. They have to be treated or seen to. So all these things are gonna cause a fallout, and this can snowball definitely into. It's gonna, because this, remember the name of the article is dealing with no deal Brexit still threatening vital medicine supplies. So this is basically will initiate, Lord willing, the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, because the administration of the RFID chip is done via who? The medical industry, all right? Biohacking, or of these things. So basically, this is you can see this is a setup for the RFID chip and even disease breaking out. In doing so, I am obliged to point out the work that still needs to be done and the risks that remain. The DHSC said the substantial stockpiles of medicines have been built up and that they were increasing by the day. We want to reassure patients we are doing everything necessary to make sure they can access the medicines they need after Brexit on October 31st, a spokesman said. Combined with other measures, including new transport routes coming online shortly, we can help ensure patients continue to receive the highest quality of care in the same way they do now. Alright? So, with these things happening, let's go into the scriptures. So it's the main one I just want to bring up. 2nd Ezra 16 and 21. Behold, victuals shall be good cheap upon the earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. So when you have victuals or supplies good cheap upon the earth, what does that mean? If you have something being sold for cheap, what does that necessarily what does that mean? It means there's an abundance of it, because you can let it go, because there's nothing to really make it of a high value, because it's an abundance. All right, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Yeah, because of the abundance of these victuals, these people think that they're in good case. All right, but you can walk down to the shop right now. It's somewhat affordable to get these foods, these forms of medication. All right, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. All right, and that's what's happening. Evils are growing upon the earth, because who's ruling? The wicked is ruling. All right, and that goes hand in hand with the book of First Maccabees, that when Alexander, who they call the Great, took over the earth, that evil was multiplied upon the earth, and this is no different today. It says sword, right? So warfare, famine, lack of bread, and great confusion. And that's what's happening right now. Warfare is on the increase, and famine is on the potential to come into play. Although it's already here, but we're talking about in these city centers, these hotspots, all right, and great confusion. And that great confusion is building with things like the Brexit happening, because it's sowing great confusion in the fact that people don't know what's on the other side of the door once they walk through the Brexit, all right, dealing with the EU, dealing with the UK, and dealing with global, geopolitics, basically. Verse 22, for many of them that dwell upon the earth shall perish of famine. Yeah, and many are going to die of famine, a lack of bread. Because the way the society is set up, it's set up for what? No one ain't got their allotted land as the way the Heavenly Father designed it, where they can just go down and basically, every season they sow their seed and they reap the benefits of their work. It's not like that. Society's not like that no more. You have to rely on your tomatoes in your garden, or your little spinach you're growing in the garden ain't gonna suffice, man. You actually have to go down to the supermarket or your local grocery store and basically get all the goods you need to sustain for food, basically. And that's why this famine is gonna happen, whether you like it or not, because it's all hinged upon the agenda of the elites, which they want to bring these things into play. And the other shall escape the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So if you escape the hunger when there's a famine, it could be by cannibalism, or you get lucky and the Lord sustains you. You find a big supermarket or something like that. Guess what, man? Guess what? It don't matter, because the sword's gonna destroy you, man. If you ain't of the elect, if you ain't chosen to be, basically put under the comfort of Yahweh Bashem, Yahushua Bashem, Al Rakar Kadash. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no